here's the situation with the exhaust. This one had a stud in it, but that rear stud there was missing. And you can see that thing was making a racket. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this exhaust system off of here. And it looks like we've got 4 Allen bolts. 2 here, and then 2... let's see here. There they are, down there. That are actually holding this on here. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull those 4 out and get this muffler actually removed from the engine, because what I'm going to do is get a new stud for the rear there. I just pulled that one out so I could get the right length and thread pitch and everything. And you can see over here, I went ahead and removed the nut off of that one also. And the other one was missing already. So got the new gaskets coming, and so yeah, so let's figure out what size this is. I've got this rail here, so you know, if you don't know what size you're working with, get a set of these socket Allens. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but this is, oh well, it's not that one, so it's not a 7. So, we'll just go back to our rail here. All right, so we've got our 6 here. All right, and then let's go try it over here. Let's see. Yeah, for sure. 6 millimeter there. So I'm just going to pull these 4 bolts out, and then we'll check that out here in just a minute. Oh yeah, they'll come right out of there. Just putting these studs back in here. The ones I had removed to match up and get the right size exhaust stud. Remember, because this one of these was missing. It must have vibrated out or something over time, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is just double nut the reverse of how I removed the old one. Put a nut on the back side and then put a nut on the front side here. The one I'm going to use is a 1/2 inch, since that's what I have floating around, and a 13 millimeter is the actual nut size. So here's the 13 millimeter and the 1/2 inch. So what we can do is use that to, maybe it's 12. Maybe I was wrong. Yeah. Butterfingers today. There we go. So we use the back side nut here to tighten that stud up the rest of the way into the block. And it looks like almost there. It should just bottom out against that threaded part right there. There we go. Alright, so then what you do is you just take a backup on the back side here, and then just pop that forward facing nut off on the one on the outside. Lefty loosey, that one, and then you can take both nuts off. All right, that's cool. So we got this stud in. We've replaced, put a new stud in back there. The installation was the same as I just did there. So now we're ready to go ahead and put our gaskets in place on here on the exhaust flanges, and or for the exhaust flanges, and then we'll be able to mount up the exhaust onto here. So this kit, or 2 of these exhaust gaskets, came off of online, and so what I'll do is I'll put a link down below to those if you're interested. And again, this is a Kawasaki FX 850V as in Victor. So there's the one exhaust gasket. Fits in there perfect. Thankfully we got the right parts, and that's always fun, making sure you get the right parts. And we've got our other gasket down here I'm just putting on. So next up, we'll pick up the muffler assembly here, and I'll just show you that side so you get a good view of what's going on. So I'm lining up one hole back there, these holes up here, and that went in there perfect. And then I'm going to go back with a nut just to hold it in place like that, and a nut over here to hold this in place. Oh, you know what I forgot? There's a lock washer on there. I don't think the originals had a lock washer, because they just fell right off. There was no retaining anything but I do have hardware. So I've got my locking hardware here. These are just split washers, lock washers, and I've got my nut. So what I'm going to do is thread these guys on here just like that, and that'll hold that flange up while I take this one off right here. I'm just leaving everything loose right now. I'm not tightening everything down. So here goes the next nut and washer. Okay, so we got 2 more washers and nuts to put on the other flange right over here. So we're going to go ahead and get that. Go ahead and tighten these guys up here. I've got a 13 millimeter deep well, and that's going to work nice for getting these back together. I put this little shorty handle on there because I knew I was going to be, doing some close quarters battle, but I've got a longer ratchet here just to snug them up the rest of the way. I'll go ahead and get these guys tightened up. I'll go ahead and torque these down the rest of the way. Make sure they're good and tight there. They are on there. Okay, that's awesome. So next step, we're going to take the engine and we're going to pick it up and we're going to set it down back into the the frame here, and then we're going to start bolting it up. I wanted to leave this out so I could easily work with these exhaust flanges and fix all that stuff there. Great, so now we can go ahead and set it in place and bolt it down to the engine, the frame, and then put the pulleys and everything back on. And then we can go back up top and get the wiring and all the fuel lines and everything hooked up. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to pick this thing up and set it down and get a couple of bolts in it so we can pick up the mower and get it in the right spot. All right, so we got the motor, kind of looks like halfway lined up where it should be. But nonetheless, I'm going to reach underneath it here and probably drop a couple bolts on the front and try to line them up with the with those thread repair things we did. So let's try that. Just getting our bolt ready to be started. We'll get it in that hole first and try to line it up with the hole that we made, or the hole that we repaired. I'm just kind of wiggling and jiggling and feeling if the bolt is engaged or not. Oh yeah, definitely feels like it threaded in there that time. What we'll do is we'll tighten those down a little bit better, a little bit more before we go picking the motor up. All right, so we have 2 of them started, and we can tighten them down by hand or with the ratchet actually. Again, got my little stubby here, 9/16 deep well. Should be able to squeeze it in here and get it on that bolt. This is kind of the hardest part, is bolting it back up without having without being able to look at it like we did when we removed it, because we were able to just get in there and do it. All right, so I've got those 2 started. What I'm going to do now is pick the mower up. That way I can get to the bottom side pretty easily without too much trouble like I'm dealing with now. But it's tightened up enough to where it's not going to fall off. I went ahead and got the new mounting bolts installed. I'll get you focused there, but either way, they're in there. Got that pulley back on, and got the pumps belt put back on, and then the deck belt put back on, the clutch there. Tightened everything back down, got it good to go. So we're ready to set this thing down, and we'll go ahead and hook up the electrical and the fuel lines now. All right, let's see if we can remember how these things go back together. I know we had a big connector down here that interfaced with another connector of the same kind. Let's see, we had this SO cord kind of thing going on here. That's where that goes. Plug, it went into here. I put some pliers on there or something, squeeze that together. Alright, so we've got this big red battery terminal, or battery wire here going to the starter, to one side of the starter, this side right here. So let's get that one on there. I think there might have been another wire on that too, but we'll just loosely get it on there for now. Oh yeah, I think this one went on there. I'm gonna have to look at watch our video and make sure we get it back right. Well, definitely this one goes here. See, that one goes to plus. I don't think it actually looks like it goes to this minus right here, the negative, because this looks like it laid on there like that. I'll double check the videos, but we'll see. This has been a few days later for me. For sure this goes here. So yeah, that gas line just gets hooked up there. So here's this line here, the other long one, and that attaches to this port right here on the carburetor. I'll put a little small hose clamp back on that. Got everything hooked back up over here. It was this solid black wire with this negative terminal up here on this ground, and then the black wire with the purple wire went down here to the positive. So I did have that mixed up, but I just went back and watched the video and made sure I had it right. And again, we hooked this back up. We've got this connector connected, and what we've got here is the battery terminal, and this is a 7/16. Let me go grab that. I'm sure this other side is 7/16 also, but I'm just going to hold this as a backup. Make sure that's good and tight, and it is. Alright, so we're ready to close the hood on the battery. And we've got these little J-hooks here. Man, it's a hot one today, guys. I think it's about 95 or something like that right now. But it is a light breeze blowing, so it's not stagnant, you know. Alright, I'm just going to go through the machine here and make sure I don't have any loose bolts or nuts or hardware or washers, you know, just anything floating around. I'm going to rotate this kind of by hand a little bit just to make sure everything looks like it's okay. Because, oh, one last thing. We forgot to hook up the throttle and the choke lever, which are right here. And they actually thread, if I remember, yeah, they actually thread behind the dipstick tube. So here's the choke cable. That goes right in here. First we got to put the Z-bend in. Get that ready. This one goes down here for the throttle. Get the Z-bend in and get it in this clamp right here. Oh, there we go. I believe these were 5/16, somewhere right in there. So let me go grab that so we can tighten these down. Okay, there we go. Got all that tightened down. So let's check the throttle. Yep, just like that. And the choke. Yep, just like that. Okay, perfect. Alright, we got everything hooked up and we've double checked everything. Everything looks good. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and try to start this thing up. I'm going to give it a little throttle, give it a little choke. Probably won't give it much throttle. Well, that sounds a lot better than it used to, and the exhaust is completely fixed now. That was just the problem. It just had rattled itself off. But yeah, the engine doesn't shake at all when it starts up or revs up or anything like that. So I think we got it. All right. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.